So last section we're going to look at is 3.5 part 2. So we're still talking about slope-intercept form, but we're going to focus more today on graphing. All right. So just a reminder, what is the equation that we use for slope-intercept form? Yeah.
Rise over run.
Okay, so that's the slope part of it. That's how you find the m, rise over the run. But what's the whole equation, including the m? Yep.
Y equals mx plus b.
Yes. So slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So you can put that down right when you have the blank line right below slope-intercept form. And now what does that m represent? It's that's the slope. Yep. So m is the slope. And what does slope mean again? It's the, what did you say it was that?
Y-x equals rise over run.
It's like the rise over run. So essentially the slope measures the what of the line. It measures how yeah?
The angle.
Yeah, like the angle, like the steepness of it, yeah? So the slope measures how steep it is. And the other thing that we have is the b. Okay. What does the b represent?
Y-intercept.
The y-intercept. Yep. And what does that mean? If you had to just kind of simplify that for someone, what the y-intercept is where what happens? Yeah.
Where the line is gonna hit the y.
The y-axis, yes. So it's where the line crosses the y-axis. So if you had something like this, your y-intercept, right there. What do we call this one? That I'm pointing to right there.
The x-axis.
Not the x-axis.
X-intercept.
Yeah, that, specifically the x-intercept. Okay. Do we use that number in y equals mx plus b? No. We don't use that. Okay. We can find it, but we don't need it to write the equation. All right, so graphing equations in y equals mx plus b form. Let's go to that part. So there's 3 steps that you need to do, and we're going to write down the 3 steps right now. Okay, so step 1. First, make sure that your equation is in y equals mx plus b form. Okay, so we had a problem in the homework where we had to rearrange it and get y by itself first. Okay, so if you had something like y equals 3x plus 4, right? Well, that's perfect. That's exactly what you're looking for. If you had something like this, 2x plus y equals 7, well, that's not what we're looking for. We would have to fix it so the y is by itself first by subtracting the 2x to the other side. Okay, so that's first thing. Make sure it's in y equals mx plus b. Second step, graph your y-intercept. Okay, so you're going to look at the number that's at the end. Look at the b, and you're going to put a dot on that number on the y-axis. Okay, so in step 2, you're using the b. You're using the y-intercept. What do you think we're going to use in step 3 that we haven't used yet? Well, what part of the equation haven't we used?
Slope.
We haven't used the slope yet. We haven't used the m. That's step 3. So step 3 is you're going to use the slope. You're going to start from the y-intercept. And you're going to use the slope to find another point on the line. So we're going to think of the slope as directions. Your slope is a fraction. Can someone remind me, what are the two words that we used yesterday?
Rise and run.
Rise over run. Rise over run. If the rise is positive, which way do we go? Which way is positive for the rise?
Down, no,
Like
up,
up,
right?
right?
Up. What about if the rise is negative?
Down.
We go down. So the rise is going to either tell you to go up or down. And just to keep things simple with the run, we're always going to go to the right. The only time I would go to the left is if I ran out of room on my graph paper and I was on the edge and I had to go the other way. Otherwise, I'll go up if the rise is positive. I'll go down if it's negative. And the run, I'm always going to go to the right. So now, what if you had something like this one? 3x plus 4. The slope is 3, but it's not a fraction. How could you make 3 a fraction if you had to? Yeah?
Put one under it.
Yeah, you could put 1 under it. So now, looking at the slope, what's the rise in that slope?
3.
3. And what's the run?
1.
1. So that means the rise is 3. So we're going to go up 3, and we're going to go right 1. So up 3 and right 1. But where are we going to do that from? We're going to do that from what do the directions for step 3 say? So we have to go up 3 and right 1, but where do we start from to do that?
The Y.
The y-intercept, yes. So that means if you put the y-intercept in the wrong spot, then it's going to come out wrong. So we put the y-intercept where it goes, and then from that point, up 3, right 1. So this is the reminder, if you have a whole number, and it's not a fraction, you can always make it a fraction by putting a 1 in the bottom. Okay, so if you don't remember that, you can write it down. There's a little space. But I'm going to guess most people remember that. Okay, and the negative slope, I already talked to you about that. Negative means you go down and to the right. Positive is up and to the right. So I would either write that down so you remember which way to go, or you could write this down too. Negative slope is down and to the right. Positive is up and to the right. All right, so now we're going to try some examples. Okay, I'll do kind of the first one with you a little bit, and then I'll let you guys try a couple. Okay, so it says graph the linear equation, and they're only asking for the x-intercept this time. Okay, that's all that they want to know. They could ask for the x, they could ask for the y, or both. In this case, just the x. Okay. Is this equation set up the correct way to do what I just showed you?
No.
No. First thing you have to do is make sure your equation is in y equals mx plus b form. All right, so we got a couple things we need to fix. What's on the same side as the y that we do not want there?
Y. No, X.
3 and
The 3 is something, and the 6x.
Yeah.
You get rid of the one that's further away first. Then we get rid of the one that's closer. So let's deal with the one that's further away. 6x. How would you put 6x on the other side?
Or negative 6. It's like subtract 6 on both sides.
So subtract what from both sides?
Negative 6x.
6x. Yeah, just subtract 6x from both sides. So subtract 6x. Subtract 6x. And what's 6x minus 6x?
Cancels out.
Cancels out. What's on the left side now?
-6. No.
Still something there.
Y.
3y. And now on the right side, remember how we want to write it. We want mx.
-6 minus 12.
Negative
6x.
6x, yep,
Minus 12.
minus 12. So we put the number with the x first, and it was a negative, so we keep it negative. And then minus 12 was the number we already had. Okay, now is that y equals mx plus b?
Yes.
So y is all by itself?
No, it has 3.
No, it still has a 3 next to it. So we don't want to have that 3. So what am I going to do to get rid of the 3 in front of the y?
Divide by 3.
Yeah, and when you divide by the 3, because that's multiplication, you do it here, you do it here, and you do it here. You have to divide in all the spots. Yeah.
Wouldn't you like add 12 to both sides and then like the 12 is just gone?
Well, we're trying to make it look like y equals mx plus b. So the goal is to get this by itself. All right, now let's look at what happens on the left. 3 times y divided by 3. What happens there?
It's just 3.
The 3's just cancel out, right? We get just y equals. And now what about negative 6 divided by 3?
Negative 2x.
So that's negative 2x. And what's negative 12 divided by 3?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Okay, so now, is it y equals mx plus b? Yes. Okay, so now we can graph it. So now we're at step 2. What does it say to do for step 2?
graph it on the y-axis.
Graph. When you say graph it, what's it?
Graph the y-intercept.
Yes, we're going to graph the y-intercept. Okay, what is the y-intercept here?
-4.
Yep, negative 4. So how do I put a dot for that y-intercept? Where do I go? Oh, Eli, can you tell me where I put it?
Where do you put it?
For the y-intercept.
On the y-axis.
Yep, and where on the y-axis? Like up here? Is that where it goes?
No. Like 4. Or the negative. What did you say? -2.
Where do we want to put it?
Like -2.
So what did we say the y-intercept is?
Oh, 4.
Negative 4.
So
Negative 2 is the slope. We have to use the negative 2, but we're not there yet.
So you have to go 4. What do you want to put it down there? Then you might put it down.
Down how many?
4.
4.
Yeah, 4.
So there's your y-intercept. Okay, if we put that in the wrong spot, it's going to mess up when we do the slope. Okay, so we've got the y-intercept. Okay, and now what's my slope? Negative 2, but my slope has to be what kind of number so I can see rise over run?
On the x-axis? On the x-axis?
Well, the slope has to be a certain kind of number. Yep,
It has to be a fraction.
it has to be a fraction. That's not a fraction. So what can we do to make that a fraction?
Put 1 under it.
Yeah, put a 1 under it. Okay, so now from the y-intercept, these two numbers are like directions to the next coordinate. We have a negative 2 in the top. What does that negative 2 tell me to do? Go which way?
Like down. Yeah.
Down how many?
2.
2. Remember, this is the rise, so the top number is up and down. Top number is not left and right. So we're going to go down 2. And then what about the bottom number?
Or down to the right one.
Go to the right one. So down to right one from that dot. So down to right one. On Edge Elastic, that's all you'll have to do. And then when you click that second dot, it's going to draw your line. When I'm doing it by hand, I usually do it a couple times. So down to right one, down to right one. I mean, you can do it as many times as you want. And once you see the pattern, you could also go back the other way if you wanted. You could go like this. Okay, I'm just following the pattern of the dots. You definitely don't need that many. That just helps me if I don't have a ruler to draw it straight. But I can do it with this, and it should come out pretty good. Okay, there's my line. So that's how you graph something in slope-intercept form. So a little bit different than the way we did it on Monday, but it's another way that is used quite a bit. Yes?
Can that use the bathroom?
Yep, just saying. Okay, so now, the other thing that they want here is the what? They asked us one more thing in this question.
Identify the x-intercept.
Identify the x-intercept. Now, if you draw a good enough graph, especially if you use like a ruler and you use the graph paper I give you, you should be able to see it pretty clearly. Okay. What does it look like the x-intercept is? Without doing any math, just looking at the picture.
-2.
-2. Yep. And if we write it as a coordinate, how would you do it?
-2,
-2, 0. Yep. So the x-intercept is right there. When I give you a problem, I'm going to make sure that the x-intercept is a nice number. Okay, it's not going to be something like that, where now you need to guess, is it like -7.4? You know, that's kind of hard to figure out. Okay, so I'm going to make sure it crosses at a nice spot. Good. Any question on that? So I'm going to have you guys try, I think we have 1B, 1C, and then that one. There's 1C. Oh, maybe it's just a 1A and a 1B. Okay. So why don't you guys try that one. So still on the front of the guided notes. Okay, and it's the same idea as the last one. So first, make sure you get y by itself. Graph the intercept, and then use the slope to find another point on the line. Okay, and I'll walk around and kind of check in and see how you guys are doing. Okay, so first they want us to graph this. Is the y by itself?
No.
No. So that's the first thing we have to do. Okay, two things we have to get rid of: the 4x and the -2. What's the first thing that we would move to the other side?
The 4x.
Yes. And how would you move 4x?
-4x.
We're going to minus the 4x
Both sides.
on both sides. So that's gone. And now we have -2y equals, and what would we have on the right side?
We would have -4x plus 2.
Yep. We're going to put the -4x first, put the +2 second. Okay. Is y by itself now?
No, we
Not
still
quite.
need to divide by 2, -2.
Right. You still have to divide by the number in front of y, and you do it there, there, and there. Okay. What's -2 divided by -2?
+2. +1.
+1. So this all cancels out. Now we have y equals
You would get 2x
2x,
plus -1 or -1.
and we'll just do -1. Okay, so there's your equation. Now we need to graph it. Okay. What's the first thing that we graph when it's in slope-intercept form?
Repeat the question.
What's the first thing that we graph now when we have an equation in slope-intercept form?
2x that is your x-intercept.
-1.
Right, we're going to graph the y-intercept. We're going to graph that -1. How do I graph a y-intercept of -1?
Going down one.
We go down 1.
Oh, now I get it.
So there's your first step. Put a dot there. And now the slope is 2. But we need to think of it as a fraction. So what can I put in the bottom? If it was already a fraction, I would just leave it. But it's not. So what could I put in the bottom?
1.
1. So now think of these two numbers as directions. From the y-intercept, we're going to go which way? 2 units.
You go up to.
Up to.
Right.
And then which way?
Right.
Right 1. So go up 2, right 1. And in edge elastic, that's all you have to do. Okay. If you want to do it a couple more times, that's up to you. Just do it enough times so you can get a good line. And then draw your line. It's pretty good. Close enough. Looks good. All right, now the x-intercept is a little hard to tell this time. I told you that when I give you an x-intercept, I'm going to make sure that it's exactly on a number. But I gave you a hint, and I said it's halfway. It's right in the middle of 2 numbers. So what does it look like the x-intercept is? Yeah?
0.5.
Yeah, it's 1/2 this time. Okay, it is 0.5. So the x-intercept, you could write 1/2, comma 0. Yep. Okay. Any question on that? All right, so last one. For the last one, I want to just kind of remind you guys about something we did maybe last week. So we wrote equations like this. And then we also wrote them like this. Does anybody remember how you read that? Yeah?
This is kind of like f to the x.
Oh,
F of x. Yep, you're close. F of x. So we called this function notation. Okay, it's just a different way to write an equation where we change the y to this symbol, f of x. So this represents what letter again? The thing that I just circled?
X.
The y.
The Y.
The y, right? F of x takes the place of the y. So this,
Is that the equation we're going to be solving?
what's that?
Is that the equation we're going to be solving?
No, that's just one I made up. So this whole thing represents the y. This part right here, well, what I'm pointing to, what's that part? Just the part that's inside the parentheses. That's the x. Represents the x. So if I did something like this, f of 2,
I'll basically y of 2.
that number right there is my what? The one I'm
That's
pointing
your
to.
That's your Y.
Yeah.
X.
That's my x. Okay, that's the x value. Now, the formula we had was 3x plus 2. So if the number inside the parentheses is the x value, then when you plug it into this formula, I'm going to plug in 3 times 2, because that's the number I'm plugging in, and then plus 2. So this is the number that you plug in for x, 2. And I plugged it in right there. What does that come up to when I do that? Yeah, it comes out to 8. And the 8 is my what value? This was my x.
Your y.
That's my y.
So it would be 2 and 8.
Exactly. So this is basically just telling me an x value, and then when you plug it in and get the answer, that's your y value. So yes, this is the coordinate.
So we would plug it on the graph now?
Yeah, so we could graph 2, 8 as a point. Yep, on this graph. Right. So I did that because that's going to help us with the next question. Right, so now let's look at what the next question is. So in example 2, it says we have a function where the y value goes up 3 and the x value goes right 1. So what we're going to want to do is kind of translate these numbers into the slope. That's what they're telling me. They're telling me how many up to go on the y and then how many right to go on the x. Okay, so let's see if we can figure it out as rise over run. The rise, that's up and down. How many units are they telling me that I go up?
3.
They're telling me that on the y, I go up 3. So that increasing by 3, that's like my rise. And then it says I go 1 unit in the x direction. Well, the x direction is your what?
Run.
That's your run. And how many units am I going in the x?
2.
1.
Oh, I was
1 unit. So the 3 and the 1, this is really like my what?
That's your, like, you place it at 1 and you gotta go all 3 and then right 1.
And what do we call that? The 3 over 1 is my, it's my rise over my run, which is my slope.
Yeah.
So these two numbers are telling me the slope. Okay. All you have to do is look for the one that says y value and look if it says increases or decreases. What if it said decreases by 3?
It'd be negative.
Right, then I would have done that. Okay? But it says increases 3 on the y, and then the x was a 1. So that's why I put a 1. Okay, so that's the slope part. Now, what's the other thing that we need when we graph a line besides the slope? We need the y-intercept. Well, look at that right there. This is what I was just reviewing with you guys. It says f of 0 equals 2.
It's gotta be your y.
Okay, let's put the other page back up. Let's go down a little bit. That's 0. What value is that?
X.
That's my x. Okay, that's my x value. And when you plug in 0, you get an answer of 2. Well, when we plugged in that, we got an answer of 8. It's not the number that's important. I want to know what this number represents. The 2 is my what?
This or the y.
That's your y value.
That's my y value. So what is this really telling me then? Kind of like I did right here.
Your coordinates.
It's telling me a coordinate.
So that means you would go up to
What coordinate is it telling me?
0, 2.
0, 2. So when you see this, f, it'll always be f, and then you'll see something in parentheses with a 0. When you see that, it's telling you a coordinate. It's telling you the coordinate 0, 2. How do you graph the coordinate 0, 2?
You go up to.
Yeah, you just go up 2. So there's your coordinate.
And then your rise, you go 3 more up and
Go
then 1 to the right.
Go 3 up and then go 1 to the right. Exactly. So it's exactly the same thing that we just did in the last 2 problems. They're just wording it a little different. Okay? The first part they're telling me is the slope, and then the last part that they're telling me right there, that is the y-intercept. That's the x value, that's the y value. 0, 2. So I graph that. And then my slope, I'm going to do it again. Do I have enough room to do it again?
No.
No. I could go the other way if you want. Just follow the pattern.
Do we have to do that?
No, I usually just do it like 2 or 3 times. Just so I have at least 3 dots. And then you just draw your line through the dots. Okay, so I think some people get confused with that because it's worded differently. Right? It's like a little harder to understand. But it is another way you can word a problem like this. That's why we did it. Okay, and we'll practice another one of those on the review definitely tomorrow because there's one like that on the test. So it says identify the slope. Okay, so we did that. Identify the y-intercept. Well, I didn't do that. What's the y-intercept here? I'm gonna try to fix my line. I didn't do it. Perfect. That looks better. Okay, what's my y-intercept?
Wait, what was like the slope? Just like over 1.
The slope was 3. And the y-intercept, yep. The y-intercept is 2. And again, it looks like the x-intercept is right in between 2 numbers. So what does it look like the x-intercept is?
3. Oh no, wait, which point?
The x-intercept.
1.7. 0.5 or negative 1.7. Negative 1.5.
So right here,
Yeah.
where does that look like it's at?
Negative
Just go to the closest half.
0.5.
I would say it's about negative 0.5. Right. Again, I'm going to try to make it line up nicer on the test. And if they wanted it as a coordinate, then I would do 0, 2, and I would do negative 0.5, 0. Both are correct. It's just a matter of how they want you to write your answer. I'll make sure on the test I tell you which way to do it. Any question on that?
The snow's acting weird. It's like it just stopped early, now it's just all of a sudden snowing again.
All right, so homework tonight, 3.5 part 2. Okay, reference sheet is already posted. You don't have to do anything with the reference sheet tonight. We're going to do that tomorrow in class, so we'll have a review day. And then for every question you get right on the review, I'll give you an extra point on the test. So any questions on the homework, what the homework is for tonight?
Here's the other question.